Yeah, partisan gerrymandering. So I believe the case is out of Wisconsin, but I'm not sure. So, the Supreme Court's going to look at that and decide. So this is going to give the Democrats a shot come the next time they draw the districts. The second part of that answer is the old guard. The Democrats have to get new blood into the leadership roles. Pelosi, and I get it, she raises money, but it's an old model.
Well, it's a model that didn't work. I mean, like we've talked about it, because Hillary outfunded and outspent Trump 2-1 and lost.
And again, it's an old mindset that it no longer applies, and they're using an old model. And again, that's a great point about being outraised and outspent. So can they get rid of the old guard? Does the gerrymandering help? And last, is there a progressive move on the left? Like, is there somebody that comes up out of the left to challenge them as a third party? Because it's not going to come from the right. The Tea Party has been placated. They got what they wanted. They got everything that they wanted.
No, it's the progressives either within the Democratic Party or just progressives who have bailed on the Democratic Party. If somebody united the progressives either in a third party, like the thing that was crazy, and this is why some people lost faith in Bernie. Some people who watch the show still believe in him, and I do for the most part. But
I do too.
But Jill Stein said when he lost the nomination, or when they stole it from him, Jill Stein said, "You be president of the Green on the Green ticket. I'll be the VP." And a lot of people thought, had he done that, because Jill Stein, who nobody knows, with the little old Green Party, still got 1 million votes. Had Bernie, because here's the thing, and why. I understand people who like, Bernie let us down, I've lost faith in him. Why I still think he's very relevant and valuable is he is the most popular politician in America. If he were to go to the Green Party or start his own party, the American Progressive Party, and brought along like Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, these Democrats that keep getting shunned for being progressive.
Yeah. I understand that, but I think in the situation in 2016, you would have split that vote, because I think there were still a number of Hillary supporters. And again, I go back to that old model, because there are still a lot of old people voting. There are still a lot of people who are our age, or older, who don't understand. They can't use their iPhone. They can't wrap their head around crowdfunding. They don't understand what it is. And so when the Democrats run their person, they check the name next to the D. And in 2016, you would have split that vote. And there was no way for a third party to win, because there were Hillary supporters, there were Democratic supporters, Obama was playing the game, there were a lot of Obama supporters. I think 2016 was an old landscape. So the question is, can you retrain the landscape? And I think you see a lot of new blood coming through the Democratic Party. The question is, will the leadership allow it to flourish?
Because they keep stifling it.
Because it
threatens their money.
It threatens their model. It threatens their model. Right. That's exactly it. It threatens their money.
Because Bernie Sanders raised hundreds of millions of dollars off of $27 donations.
Yeah.
And so like when Tulsi Gabbard comes out and says, "I'm not taking any super PAC, any corporate money," people on the left attack her. Like the corporate Democrats attack her because that challenges and hurts their money. So that's the thing where I agree. Part of it is just this old model, this old landscape, and we need the two parties. And I've even seen it on, like, when I've gotten into these debates on Twitter, I've seen people go, "Well, there only were two choices," and I'm like, what ballot did you have?
Right. No, there are more than, but there are two major parties. Sure. And unfortunately, and this is, you can call it a problem with the Constitution and the way the founders set it up, but it's kind of designed for two parties, because you don't have to get a majority, you have to get a plurality. I don't have to get 50% of the vote, I just have to get more than you do. And that's kind of the way it's set up. And so unfortunately, I don't have to work with you, I have to beat you.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of this, I don't know that we can put it on the founding fathers, because I think it's been manipulated.
I think it has, all of that is true. Unfortunately, the way it's set up is for a plurality. And when you look at a country like England, for example, like, she has to get a majority. And so she now has to pull in these other groups and has to negotiate with other groups so that she can get her majority, and then they can move the ball forward. The Republicans don't have to do that. They just have to beat you. And they can say and do whatever it takes to do that. And I think that the Democrats are using an old model and playing their game. And to go back to my point, if the Democrats are going to survive, they're either going to have to move to the left, like you suggest, or another party is going to come. And I think it's better if another party came and just said, we're done with you.
Hey, man. The Whigs were a very powerful party.
Once upon a time,
and this guy, Abraham Lincoln, came in with his new upstart Republican Party, and they went away.
Nobody says it has to be two parties. It doesn't have to be. The problem with three parties is, again, you don't have to get a majority. You just have to get a plurality. So you're going to pull from one side or the other. And that side is going to then have to get you involved.
I disagree with that, because this is where I think the two-party system, because they're fueled by such giant corporate money, they have took over the electoral board. The two parties determine who's on the stage for the big debates.
Yeah.
They have overtaken this because they have so much money. Because, like you say, there's really one party. It's this giant corporate party.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Bank of America's spreadsheet, and they give equally to both sides.
Yeah,
ExxonMobil gives equally to both sides. You know what I mean?
So do the health industry. So do Big Pharma.
Big Pharma, they give equally to both sides. And for me, and I'm getting off track a little bit, this idea of like states' rights or moving stuff back to the states is complete nonsense, because it's so much easier to capture a state legislator than it is to capture a federal. If I'm healthcare and I'm Blue Cross and I'm in West Virginia and I'm the only game in town, it's so easy for me to go, hey, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're coal in West Virginia, mm-hmm. guess what? You own it. So the EPA is nonsense. All this stuff is nonsense. So for that third party to buck that system, it's going to take a big influx of cash from somebody. Bloomberg, Cuban, Zuckerberg.
Somebody like that.
Somebody like that has to. Now, I'm not saying it all has to come from them, but they got to throw in. And then you start fundraising, because that's the only way they get any legitimacy these days.
Because if somebody came in and said, we're starting this third party, we've got, just for argument's sake, we're going to get Bernie's coming over and a couple big Democrat progressives like that. And Mark Zuckerberg says, I'm putting up $500 million.
Now you got something.
And then all of the people who call them the 26 million independents that were shut out of the primary, mainly by the Democratic Party, then all those independents, all those Bernie-crats, all those progressives would go, you know what? I'm in.
Yeah, I'll. Not only am I going to vote there, but here's a couple of dollars. You know what I mean? And like you say, you raised all this money I gave to Bernie. Mm-hmm. I loved what he was doing. I gave to Bernie. But you'll have that influx of cash. You'll have some energy. You'll have people volunteering, and you'll have another choice. Which, to be honest, when I look at 2016, and for me, Hillary lost that election far more than Donald Trump won it.
For sure.
And the other thing I would say, truthfully,
Donald Trump was the most beatable candidate to ever exist.
I could have run a garbage can.
Anything.
Like a half full garbage can.
With a dent in it.
And he would have lost by 20 points.
Right.
The problem is he wasn't part of Washington, and people just saw something new. And that's what they were attracted to.
Well, that was two things. There was something new, and the disdain for the Clintons is so big that there was so much
I talked to a woman. I'll never forget this.
And some people also were like, "Fuck it, I want to blow up the system. I'm going to vote for this wingnut."
Yeah, that to me is a little upsetting, because I don't think people understand the system, and so. I get it, but I remember talking to this woman at the gym, and smart woman. You know what I mean? I thought she was like, I was like. Her friend asked her, I didn't actually ask her, and I overheard the conversation, and she said, I voted for Trump, and I kind of looked over, and I was like, do you mind me asking, how come, a woman like yourself? She goes, I couldn't do it. I couldn't pull the lever for Hillary. And I get it. I go, I get it. I absolutely get that.
And some Hillary supporters say, oh, people, she hates women or whatever. I really don't think it was an anti-female view. I think it's the Clintons.
I think it was her specifically.
It's her and her husband. They are tied together. And you can't, when the Clinton Foundation, I just did a story on how the Clinton Foundation raised all this money for the Haiti earthquake, and very little of it has actually gone to help. And they do stuff like, they've helped build hotels in the non-affected areas. And
right.
At every turn,
there's a scam.
There's a scam. At every fucking
turn. So to have those two candidates like it was pick'em, 6 of one, half dozen of another, right? You were going to get. I don't think we knew how big the dumpster fire was going to be with Trump, but you knew there was going to be a dumpster fire on either side. If Hillary was in, we'd be talking Benghazi. The Republicans would be running some other game to get, And again, I think these things are a lot of it's for fundraising. A lot of it's for how much.
All right. So as we wrap up here, so yeah, I agree. Like, I hope that happens. I hope some big billionaire person that sees how flawed the Democratic Party is.
If they're not going to be Batman, right? I mean, there are how many billionaires in this country, right? 600 something, and they're not going to be Batman. Then they may as well throw in for this, right? If they're not going to put their money in being Batman and the Cape Crusader, then help a brother out, right? Then let's start a third party.
You heard it here first on the Political Vigilante. Thank you, Walker Yule, for being on
My
the show.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Name of your podcast again?
Deeper Dive, available on iTunes and also at Libsyn, and it's under the DSU flag, so you'll see Dungey State University.
Cool.
What we call it, so.
Check it out, guys. Thank you for supporting the show. I'm going to try to do, like I said, more interviews, more different stuff. And, you guys wanted a different background, so here you go.
Welcome to San Diego.
Support the show on the Patreon links below. Like and subscribe and put it on all your social media. Thanks for watching. Boom.